Okay, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be covering POU number 4 for the 3ds Max class. If we pull up our class assignments really quick and check out what we're going to be working on, let me pull this up. There we go. So POU number 4, this one is going to be file management. So file management inside of 3ds Max or Blender is going to help out with transferring files from one computer to another. So when I'm grading assignments or when we get into group projects, this will really affect a lot of your stuff. Especially with working on large projects, you can work on them on the school computer and take them to your home computer. So we're going to work on a couple of these things in here and make sure that everything kind of works when we transfer a project from one location to another. So I'm going to go in, and I already have this folder opened up here. Here I have my prop set that I've been working on in class. I also have our phase 1 project for our city fly-through right here above it. And then I also have a folder with all of my reference images that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go and open up my prop set here, and we're going to take a look at what we have. And you can see I have some of my props already starting to be created, and I'm already working on stuff. So we're just going to load in some reference images and some other stuff, and we can see how that will transfer from one computer to another. So if I go to my reference images, I can just take some of these images and drag them into Blender and put these inside of here there. So now when we drag those in, I might have to reset some of these. I can go to my transform here and just say all these should be at 0 degrees, or maybe just do my Alt and rotate to reset my rotation. And then I'm just going to rotate all these 90 degrees, negative 90, rotate them 90. There we go. So there's my props and the reference images. I might even just lay these out so it's easier for me to work on. Something like that there. And then I could go and work on doing all my modeling and everything else inside of Blender. So I could go in here and I could model and finish modeling my lamppost. This was the reference images I used for that. Here I was already working on a mailbox for that one here. So we could do the same with these other two props as well. But first thing, to show you what is going to break if we don't properly pack these images, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to save my file. And if we close Blender down and we loaded our reference images in there, the thing about transferring files is I saved all those into my prop set file. If those reference images move to anywhere else on my computer and I reopen my prop set, now they're going to come in probably purple or as a broken image like they are here. So it lost the reference from those images, where it doesn't know the file location of those images since I moved that folder around. So I'm going to close this and say don't save. And I'm just going to bring my reference images back into here, so then they're back in my folder. Same thing if you're turning in projects, or if you're working with a group or a partner, you want to work on having a file system set up. So I'm going to close that and show you what I have. Right here I have proof of understanding project number 4. You'll probably end up doing the same thing, where you want to have a file folder of the project you're working on. So if this is your phase 1 project, you can save that as your city fly-through project or whatever it is, POU number 4, phase 1, whatever you want to call it, but save that in one main folder. And then we're going to open that folder up. In there I have my reference images. What I kind of like to do sometimes as well is maybe even have another folder of my props. Prop set, we need an R in there. There we go. Prop set, and maybe my props are just going to go inside there. Same thing, prop set now is inside this folder, but it needs to go back up one folder and find my reference images, and I broke that link a little bit. So let's go through and try to fix that in my prop set. So I'm going to reopen this Blender folder, and the images are still going to be broken, but we'll relink them right now. So we can go in here, and inside of Blender, we're just going to go File, External Data, and we want to find missing files since they all kind of ended up disappearing. So if we go in here, here's my prop set. I'm going to go up one folder by just hitting the up arrow, go to my reference images, and then say find missing files. Because I just chose the folder all my images are in, it was able to refine those files, and now it's all set. So now I can do File, Save, and there we go. Another thing that is really useful for this, where especially if you have a lot of images and you're transferring them around or maybe restructuring your file system, a good practice sometimes to get into is packing your resources. The downside of packing resources is saving those images inside of Blender itself, so your files might get a little larger, but it's also a good practice where nothing will end up breaking. So to pack our resources, we can go File, External Data, and Pack Resources. And you'll see on the bottom of the screen towards our little timeline, it's going to say how many files it'll pack. So there, packed 4 files right down at the bottom, and then from there I'm able to close this down, and let's just save first. And now if I even move my reference images out of my folder, go back to prop set, they should still be inside my Blender folder because it packed those resources internally inside of Blender. Sometimes with that though is if you have a lot of images that you're using, it might increase file size. So it's also good practice to pack resources, or you can even do it in this way where you create a file system where I have in this folder POU number 4, prop sets, that's going to be my props I'm using, reference images is going to be that one there, and then you might have your main Blender file in that main home folder, kind of like this one here. So now if I go back to my prop sets, because everything's packed up and ready to go, everything should still be working, all my images are there, and that's good to go. So next, when turning in files, and say if you're using a prop set that's referencing your props here from your phase 1, and then we also have reference images inside there, a good habit to get into is turning in your entire project folder. However, D2L, or our website where we're doing all of our assignments, I guess it's My Courses now, if I go in here and add a file and go to my computer to upload this, I can go back to my desktop. Here's my POU video. If I try to bring this in here, file's empty because it's not going to want to upload a folder into D2L. So what you have to do is this POU number 4, I'm just on my desktop. If I double click to show you, this is where I have all my stuff for my prop sets. Go back up, here's my reference images, go back up, and then I can go back to my desktop, and there's that folder. All you want to do for turning this in, especially for POU number 4 and moving forward, all your large project files, you're going to take this, right click, and say compress to a zip file. Compressing it to a zip file is something that you can upload into My Courses, and then it will actually upload in there. So then I can just upload that. The only difference is it made a copy of it or a duplicate where you'll still have your working file that you can work on. The zip folder is just what you turn into the Dropbox or upload in somewhere else so you can share files. So now if I take POU number 4 zip folder, I can upload that, and it'll turn that in, and I can add that video, and then I can just submit that for my file assignment, and then that's done. So that's how you can pack up projects using 2 different methods. Both are really handy. I like using the pack resources, where you just go file and pack all your resources so that everything is kind of stored inside of Blender. For larger projects, and especially what we'll be getting into for later assignments like phase 2 and 3, we'll go through, create a file structure, and compress all your files into a zip folder and turn that in. So then when I download it, it has everything inside there. Other files that you might include in there, so let me just delete this right now. If I were doing my own project, I kind of like having something like this where I might have prop sets as one folder, references images in another. If I do another one, I could do maybe my textures. So I'm just going to say this is textures. Anything else I might include in there is maybe some of my test renders. So I'm going to do folder, and maybe I have a folder for still images or still renders, and then I can have a folder for video renders. And then once we get later on in the project, those two are kind of optional, but they're handy where you can save all your raw files or the MP4s that you export from your file. And then when we get into Adobe Premiere Pro, where we'll stitch all our videos together and do video editing, you can just have all your video renders here for your raw file, and then you might have the final MP4 just in this main home screen here. So let me see if I have some stuff like that from today. So I can go to my pictures. I had some renders earlier, but here's some of my city fly-through renders. So here's this video. If I pull this one up, it's not too bad. I can save this one, and then also this video. There's only 2 seconds. I'm just going to take those and cut those. Just go back to my desktop, POU4, and this is my video renders. I'm just going to paste those inside there. So then when I go into my phase project, I can just save my stuff automatically to there. So if this is my city that I'm working on here, and I want to render a new video, I'm just going to go off to the right, off to the side here, and if you go to your output properties, that's where we can save or choose the location we're saving this video to. I'm just going to scroll down to our output and hit my folder. And this one here, I think it's already in there. Oh, it's in my videos. So I'm going to go to desktop, POU4, video renders, and then I can just say accept there, and now it's automatically going to render my video, save that into that folder, and then I can just compress that whole folder when I'm ready to turn it in, and then you're good to go. So now I can even just save that, because it's also going to save the file location where it's exporting, and then I'm set here. You'd say you go through, do your render, it's going to save that render into your videos here, and here's all your raw videos. From there, you'd go through, open Adobe Premiere, which should be somewhere on here. We'll get into that later in the class. When you go to video editing, you can just drag all your video renders in there, make your whole thing, and then you're set from there. So now if I'm ready to turn this in, I already submitted one, but I'm just going to turn it in again. Now that I've restructured my whole format, or my file system, I'm going to right-click, compress to, and a zip file. Now it's going to take that whole folder project, compress that, and it's going to have everything inside there. You can see even if I open it up, it has everything included, but it's zipped so you can no longer edit the stuff in there. So you have your working file, which is going to be the default folder structure, or all the stuff that I have here, and the compressed zip file is what you're going to turn in. So now I can go in here. I already hit a submission, so I can hit done. I'm just going to do that again, so I can go File Management, Add a File, My Computer, and if you remember, the raw file structure, the workable files, won't let us submit anything like that in there because it's a folder. It actually wants a actual file to submit, and that's what we're going to do with the compressed file. This one I can drag and drop in here, upload that, say add. This is my submission number 2. Just so that I have that so I know which one is which. There we go. And then I can say overwrite, and then we should be good from there. This is probably something that you might see on some of these, where this, from POU number 4 moving on, I have them locked inside of my courses just to give you guys the practice of it, where you can only submit one file at a time. So that's what this window pops up. Are you sure you want to overwrite previous submissions? I'm just going to say yes, but because it's one file that I'm downloading or that you're uploading, it has everything inside your project inside that folder. So if you look inside there, it has multiple files in there, but my courses in D2L will consider that zip file as one object, and you can just submit that in there. So the file I have locked down in my courses just to give you guys that experience, but that should be about it from there. So that's pretty much all it is for the POU number 4. It's pretty simple, pretty basic. Shouldn't be too complicated of creating a file structure like that. This is kind of what I'm looking for the assignment, is just a zip folder. Maybe have a couple things laid out for what you want to do. Maybe put in progress of whatever you currently have and just submit your work in progress. So I have my phase 1 in here. Video renderings from our third POU, I have those inside of here as well. We haven't done textures yet, and we're still not doing textures for this first phase. Don't worry about that. I just made an empty folder just to have in there. Still renders, I did have some, but I think I deleted them earlier. Reference images, those are important to have in here, so you want to make sure those are zipped. And then your prop set, that's going to be the Blender file inside of there. So that's about it for this video. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. And if you have any other questions, just shoot me a message and I should be able to respond from there. And then that should be good to go. Good luck, and hopefully everything goes smooth.